The Last of Us becomes the second largest debut after House of the Dragon at HBO Max. The biggest one since 2010, which was from Boardwalk Empire with Steve Buscemi in 2010 had a big one. But the numbers are also it's skewed because you have to remember that a lot more people just tuned into TV for appointment style television back then than they do now. Like now, you said earlier to me, Mary, you said I miss when television actually was like appointment television, where it was like it came on at 8 p.m. and everyone tuned in to watch it. Now everything they just dump on streaming services at 3 a.m.
I mean, I'm just saying primetime was primetime for a reason. People tuned in.
They did that with the show.
I don't like this whole thing where you have to search for when a show comes out and it ends up being like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., all because, now people tune in when they can tune in, when they have the time to.
They did that with The Last of Us, though. It premiered at 9 p.m. And I believe they did the same thing with House of the Dragon. I believe that had a nighttime premiere as well. So maybe, like, one of the funny things about this is like you can start to understand what they have confidence in and what they don't by judging, like, what actually gets a timed release and which ones they just dump on the streaming services at 3 a.m. and say, watch it whenever you get around to it.
Rings of Power always was coming out at midnight Eastern time, I think, which was weird because they're trying to appeal to a family-friendly audience.
Yeah.
And a whole family is not sitting down in the middle of the night to watch Rings of Power.
I mean, they might, but they're weird.
They would be weird.
They're
I'm
weird
sure they're out there.
So it says
seething right now.
So it says it marked the largest debut after House of the Dragon since Boardwalk Empire launched in 2010. I got little vibes of like, it's the #1 show released between the time of 7 and 4 a.m. Record breaking. Like, they love to make up records. It's like their favorite thing to do. But this was genuinely a big deal. But more important than the big deal for this is that they've got 2 shows right now that supposedly had fantastic debuts. They had Velma and they had The Last of Us. And we know which one the people actually like. YouTubers like Velma.
I mean, I bet that
YouTubers like Velma because it gives them stuff to talk about.
I bet the pilot of Velma did have a lot of viewership just because of the amount of bad press around it.
It was their highest rated animated series ever.
Ever.
Wow. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, does that count everything that came before? Because they just dumped.
What else
just got
do
rid
they
of a
have
bunch
on
of stuff.
there?
I mean,
Bob's Burgers.
They've got
Family
a lot
Guy,
of old stuff
maybe
on there. Like they've got like a lot of the DC animated. I mean, that's literally the reason I keep HBO Max around is for all their DC animated stuff. But that's not premieres, and that's not
being
the same
ghettoized there.
Yeah, basically.
That's it.
So it says the series, which is based on the PlayStation game, takes 20 years. Okay, I'm going to go up to that. Up one part. They said the Sunday night viewership typically represents 20 to 40% of the show's total gross audience per episode. So then if it's 4-point-something million viewers, then what we're looking at 8 to 12 million probably on the high end for each episode. And I think Euphoria, they're saying like once Euphoria picked up, it was getting 19 million per episode.
Yeah, I think that was more because it was like posted on TikTok a lot and turned into like viral sounds on TikTok.
Yeah.
Which drew more people by the episodes. But I think we've had something to argue about.
Well, here. Yeah, like the number one thing I want to talk about here. Well, first I want to point out that the big thing for this to me is that Velma will likely not keep the same audience, and I can see The Last of Us continually keeping that audience, if for no other reason than people wanting to tune in every week to see just how closely they keep it to the source material. Or maybe David Zaslav is just a mad scientist and he's like, let's take 2 properties. One we'll make exactly like the original, and the other one we will make unrecognizable.
But you can't ever do anything in between those.
No, there's no in-betweens.
Why do we have to work in extremes? That's my question. Velma is all shock value, so it's going to fatigue people way quicker than something that's like The Last of Us, which I found slow moving and a little bit boring. I mean, beyond the fact that I saw it was just kind of a 1-to-1 remake of the video game introduction cutscenes. I mean, it just didn't make me feel drawn to the next episode. It didn't make me curious. That might be that I know the story already, and people who haven't been introduced to it before are more drawn to continue watching than I am.
Well, the funny thing about this is it kind of proves that Hollywood is extremely stubborn in that they have perhaps what could be considered the easiest model ever. Take a project or a property that people like The Last of Us, remake it 1 for 1. Theoretically, the people that don't have the people that don't have the inclination The people that don't have the inclination to play the game will probably still like it because there was something universally likable about the gaming version of it. And people that like video games are sick of watching you take extreme liberties with all of their properties, so they want to see it made one for one. So going for something in the middle is literally just hubris and vanity from the creators who think that they can take something that has universal mass appeal and do better off the backs of something that already has it.
So you ride the coattail of an IP that's popular, which means you're lazy.
No, you're not riding the coattail.
And you just repeat it.
No, riding the coattail.
Stonks.
No, actually, I would disagree. Riding the coattail of it would be taking it and changing it and using the name for your own recognition. Adapting isn't riding the coattails of. A faithful adaptation isn't riding the coattails.
I mean, whether you like it or not, if they made some derivative apocalypse type of television show, it would not be. If you made the finalists,
I'm listening.
If you made the finalists, and it's very derivative of other like zombie apocalypse TV shows, it would not have nearly the same viewership that something with the title "The Last of Us" will get. That means that you are going off of the popularity of an existing fan base, and I appreciate that fan base deserves to get what they ask for.
Yep. Also, I think we need to give it a couple of episodes. It'll
we
take
do.
Before I bet you in the middle of the show is when it's going to really start to deviate from the source material.
Neil Druckmann says episode 3 will challenge the audience.
See, that's did somebody say in the chat? Yeah, okay. That's what's going to happen. So then the angry pitchforks are going to come out, and you're going to understand that you had it on easy mode. Literally, it's just remake shot for shot. Yeah. Like, you could do that, and most people would be completely fine with that.
They're fine with that because the bar is so astronomically low. Like, it has descended below the molten core of the earth.
Well, I mean, that's for anybody who hasn't seen the original Mortal Kombat movie, which is a masterpiece.
The bar for entertainment itself is low, but the bar for adaptations from games right now is even lower than low. Like, people saw the failure of Halo, the Halo series.
Yeah.
And I think we were talking about like Resident Evil. We were talking about Mario. Mm-hmm. There's the new Mario movie that's coming out that people think is going to become wokeified. And then even like tabletop gaming, like we have the Dungeons and Dragons movie that's coming out later this year. And the bar for those types of movies and TV shows is even lower than normal. So they're just like delighted that it isn't atrocious on the first episode.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat mentioned, and I saw other people arguing about this on Twitter. They said, well, what about The Force Awakens, which everybody, like a lot of people, it made a lot of money, but a lot of old school fans were like, look, you just remade, the first Star Wars movie and just did it shot for shot, basically a shot for shot remake.
Really? That's what it was?
I mean, it's not really. I mean, it's very, very close to being similar to to A New Hope. But the problem is people get upset about that because it's actually supposed to be something new, but it's not. This isn't supposed to be something new and something it's not. It's actually an adaptation.
For most of the viewers, it is something new that they haven't seen before.
Yeah.
The fact that the pilot was mostly a one-for-one remake from cutscenes at the beginning of The Last of Us means it's going to be entertaining because The Last of Us was objectively an entertaining game, and it was a highly cinematic game. It was almost like watching a movie or a TV show, which some people dislike. Some people like that as well. But like you're saying that a one-for-one remake is exactly what they should do. And my point of view is like, taking some creative liberties that don't bastardize
They haven't earned it. They have 20 years of me telling them that they have not earned the right to take the creative liberties.
We put our dues in watching terrible movie adaptations.
They haven't earned. You give me 10 years of good of mostly good adaptations, then we can talk about.
I think a lot of reactions to the episode, like the first episode of The Last of Us, were a reaction to the general climate of entertainment right now, and not a reaction to the content itself. And I'm trying to be as objective as possible. I think that there could be something in between a bastardization of the original source material and a one-for-one remake that required zero effort on their part.
Well, so there's going to be. There has to be, because you can't take the game and turn it into a season on a TV show and not make some kind of changes, because you have to expand on the narrative, you know? So I'm sure there's going to be some stuff in there that, well, you said you didn't play the game. Yeah. I played the game. I'm sure there's going to be some stuff in there that I'm not going to agree with, but it's like overall, And full disclosure, I have not seen the episode yet because I'm just so out of this stuff that...
See what I mean? They have not earned the right to take all even the smallest amount of liberties.
Dude, I've been tweeting this whole time. Like, I can't wait to see how they mess this up. Yeah. And then to hear like the first episode was like, oh, it's just like the game. Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Except for that they race swapped Joel's daughter.
See, they made their swaps where they could get their social points and stuff that didn't have anything to do with the story.
Yeah.
Meaning characters and stuff like that, what they look like.
Sure.
So
fair point. I get that that's like the climate right now, that there's this vindictive feeling between the viewers and the people producing these shows.
I think it's the boomer millennial.
Yeah.
You think it's a generational thing?
Yeah. I put up with so many that were terrible. Finally, I want someone that's good.
You think boomers are making these things?
Boomer millennial.
What?
Boomer
Explain
millennial?
boomer millennial.
Because we're millennials and we experienced all these terrible adaptations, movies.
It really was a big part of. I mean,
You're
I
like
have a soft
90s, 2000s.
I have a soft spot for the bad ones. Street Fighter,
Soft spots. Super Mario, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat's incredible.
They were bad. Let's be honest.
They were good, but they were bad.
Yeah.
This goes far past Halo, Assassin's Creed, which should have been good, but. They just don't know how to do it. They're better off just.
That's in like different eras of history, right?
Assassin's Creed was like 2017. That wasn't that long ago. That was like
no, I mean Assassin's Creed.
The games.
The game.
The game itself, it takes place in
different eras.
I think there is because
but there's continuity for the main character, right?
Kind of. I've only played 2 of the games, but yeah, the way I understand it is it's kind of related, but not really.
They don't have the track record to do this. And I want at least 5 years of good remakes. Like Halo, if anything, should have proved that they were never going.
You're not going to get 5 years of good.
Well, then they better stick.
Remakes. I mean, that's impossible. That's never been.
If they keep getting creative,
I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying if a year comes out and there's 4 video game adaptations, I want at least 2 of them to be really good, and 1 to be okay, and 1 can be crappy.
We're making hasty judgments, obviously, because it's only the first episode, and it's a necessity that you take certain liberties where the video game can't fill the gaps. Yep. But I don't know. Like, I don't really get it because, Brett, you're saying, like, this show is not for the video game fans.
No,
it's
it is.
for the people who haven't played the game.
No, it is.
It is.
But what you said before we started the show was it's not for people who play the game.
No, okay. It is for people that played the game because the people that played the game don't want you to change anything.
Exactly.
Then play the game.
No.
Right?
They've already played the game. Now they want to watch it in a different medium.
The thing is, like, what are you adding to this franchise value?
I'm the resident video game player here. Yeah. I love the game. If you make an adaptation, I want it to be just like that. You can get creative, but it has to be in the spirit of the game. Okay. Like, if you're going to make the thing, please be a fan of the game in the first place.
I agree.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you are making something, you're adapting a game that is already so close to a movie or TV show that it's been criticized for that, then what is the point of adapting it? Like, what value are you adding to the franchise? I understand that you're adding value to your own pockets because people who haven't played the game are going to watch it and they're going to like it. But then it means it's not for the people who play the game.
That's the market they're going for.
That's what I'm saying. They could theoretically have this very, very easy. The video game people don't want you to change anything. People who just want good cinema don't want you to change anything because they wanted if they knew what it was about, right? They wanted to be as close to the source material as possible because that's what was actually good. It translates mediums, right?
Yeah.
If it's good in the game, especially something like you said that's mostly like cinematic cutscenes, if the story translates well there, you can make reasonably small changes, leave most of it intact, and reach a whole new group of people who would otherwise not know it exists because they're not playing the game, but they also want it to be a good story, so why change the story?
Do you think that this is going to prompt people who haven't played the game to play the game?
No.
I don't care either way.
I don't think it will backtrack that way. I don't think it will go that way.
If they do, cool, but...
especially with people. That's funny because they talk about that with comic books all the time. They said, like, will comic book movies finally get people? No. It will not get people to buy comics.
Is the MCU
it's like a
going to
by-person
cause
basis.
It never gets people,
Gen Z or Gen Alpha, to read comics?
It doesn't work.
Don't think so.
No.
You guys don't read comics at all?
I mean,
Not
I'm sure
years.
there are some Gen Z
Not
people who
years.
read comics,
Wow.
but I don't think that the Marvel film adaptions are prompting anyone in significant numbers to read comics again.
Yeah. It's not.
And they've also ruined the comics themselves.
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
the new comics that come
Yeah.
out are ass,
Yeah.
from what I hear.
What I meant when I said that earlier was that they're not making it for the fans of the video games because they're going to watch it anyway.
Okay, so the new Resident Evil that came out, I'm a fan of Resident Evil, the game, the series. Okay, when they put it out, I said to myself, you made a Resident Evil show for people that are not fans of the Resident Evil show. You didn't have to convince me to watch it. I was going to give it a shot. You have to convince the people that don't know what Resident Evil is, don't really care.
And the best way to do that is to use material that's already been proven to work.
Exactly.
And the proof that you have is that the people who played the game liked it.
Exactly. So what they did, they just made the game for people who might be into this woke whatever. And I'm sitting there like, you didn't make the show.
Here's the other thing. There are games, styles of games like Street Fighter that would require more actual adaptation.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because a fighting game isn't 100% story all the time.
Exactly.
Right? So you have more leeway, like with a Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Back then, back in 95, before all the lore had been built out around Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
you have more leeway to actually make a story about it, through your movie, through your script writing process. Something like this, they serve it up to you on a platter, on a silver
Exactly.
platter. Why would you change it? Doesn't make any sense.
So make a movie about Pong.
Yep.
Okay, of course you have to come up with some story for that. There's
Right.
no story. It's just two tiles and a ball. But this exactly what it says. You have source
Wasn't
material.
there going
It's
to be a
good.
Pong movie?
Wasn't there going to be a
Probably.
Tetris movie?
No, there was another one. What's the other one?
There was Battleship.
The one with Ryan. Oh, the one with Ryan. There was like one that Ryan Reynolds was attached to, but it wasn't.
Monopoly?
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Pac-Man.
Maybe it was Pac-Man. There was going to be a Pac-Man.
No way.
I mean, they should make a Pac-Man horror movie, like a Pac-Man one where you're like being chased.
A la Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, a la Winnie the Pooh.
Did that come out yet?
No.
February.
We've purchased our
ready for it.
tickets, though.
Yeah. So look, I think that what the sad thing is they're making their jobs harder on themselves. And when they make their jobs harder on themselves, they never do it to actually make it a better story. They do it to inject identity politics. There are very few examples, none of which I can think of off the top of my head, where they make grandiose changes to something and it
Yeah.
makes it better.
Except for Super Mario 1993.
Well, they're mad about that one right now too, because no John Leguizamo in the sequel as Luigi.
No, only John Leguizamo is mad about that.
He only
Nobody
gets-
else is mad about that.
He only gets to be bad guys.
And also, some people are saying that Princess Peach is going to be woke and a
Yeah.
girl boss.
She will be.
I have no idea why. but-
Surinc Zero Production. I'm not talking about Free Guy. Free Guy was freaking awesome.
That one was really good.
Everyone should watch Free
that
Guy.
wasn't based on a specific game, though.
It's just game culture.
Yeah.
And I guess the general concept of MMOs and stuff, right? So that's the other funny thing is we're going to get the Dungeons and Dragons movie this year. That's
God.
something that, like, who knows if they're going to actually be able to adapt that accurately.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's
I don't
difficult.
know. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.